What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 15 of the Silver and Gold. I'm Josh.
And I'm Mike.
And today, we've got a lot to really dive into. A lot happened in week 4, and we're still processing it all because, we sort of said that this was going to happen when, going into the season, how, just sort of the story of the season unravels. So, we're going to go ahead and kick things off with the 49ers versus the Cardinals recap today. And, I just have to say the Niners went in there and they kicked ass. Brock Purdy was great. Christian McCaffrey was phenomenal. And, this team is honestly, it feels pretty historic right now. I would say this team is better than the team that they had in 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl. I'm pretty confident about, saying that. I think Brock Purdy is way better than Jimmy Garoppolo ever was. And, I just think that, McCaffrey is probably the best weapon that I've ever seen on the 49ers. My entire, time paying attention to football. I would say my whole life, but that's ignoring 1999 to 2010 when I really started paying attention to sports, right? But McCaffrey is just awesome. He had 4 touchdowns, and the Niner defense, they gave up 16 points, but they're going to give up points here and there. When they're scoring 30 points, other teams have to go to desperate measures in order to stay in the ball game. They're not just going to get trampled and rolled over. Although I think if there's one area for improvement, I think the corners just have to, they need to improve in not allowing chunk plays. But, this team, I think, is kind of foolproof right now. And, our weekly theme, Mike, has been bringing up what would happen if the Niners played the Chiefs. And, I think this week just kind of swayed back in my favor. I'm pretty confident that the Niners could take down anyone in the NFL right now. I think if there was one team, if there was one team that would, I guess, worry me more than other teams, it might be the Buffalo Bills right now. But, like we said, it's a long season, and going forward, there might be another team that might emerge. But the Niners contain Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs was able to break out a couple runs, but for the most part, he wasn't able to kill them. Josh Dobbs played pretty well, and he ran fearlessly. Like I had said, that he ran fearlessly before. Michael Wilson, for the Cardinals, caught a touchdown, and it was actually a really close play. It was so close that maybe if they would have called that, an incompletion because he was out of bounds, maybe it would have stood as an incompletion, but it's neither here nor there. Brock Purdy just had one incompletion, and it was a ball that he threw away because, he didn't like what he saw. Purdy was nearly perfect, and, he was hitting the deep ball. Purdy was doing it all. And, it's going to be really hard to defeat this football team going forward. So, Mike, I don't know if you have any thoughts about the game, but,
I want to say Michael Wilson caught 2 touchdowns. And then McCaffrey, I think he had 4 total, right?
Yeah, McCaffrey had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's the best weapon I've ever seen in a 49er uniform. And that's saying a lot because Deebo Samuel just 2 years ago was a great weapon, but I think McCaffrey's better.
Yeah, I'd say McCaffrey is sort of the anti-Deebo in the sense he's great as a receiver, but he is the pure runner, whereas Deebo was the pure receiver who was also a great runner. And I think, yes, McCaffrey is more dynamic than Deebo by far. And this is just McCaffrey. That's just how he's always been. But he fits so perfectly for this team and specifically for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Yeah, it almost doesn't feel fair in a way. But the one thing about the Niners this season relative to say 2019 or even I'd say last year or years past, it feels like this defense isn't quite it is dominant, but it isn't quite as dominant as before. And it's mostly, as you said, the cornerback play, specifically allowing chunk yardage underneath. And I mean, it comes off as a bend don't break defense. The defensive line is getting the job done, but when they don't get the pressure, it so far has led to completions, you know, and it's allowing teams to stay in games, including two teams that absolutely shouldn't, the Giants and the Cardinals.
Mhm.
And I know, like, you started by saying like they outright won the game, and yeah, the Niners did, but this is another game where I want to say at one point the Cardinals were within one possession in like the third quarter, and it's like I'm not trying to undersell the Niners, like they're a top 3 team in the league by far,
Mhm.
like that's a fact right now. Um, I don't know why this defense isn't
Locking it down like they did in the
lock
past.
yeah, demolishing like if the defense would step it up just a little bit and get back into that 2019 last year form, to last year form, they would be beating teams like the Bills right now,
Mhm.
And I think like you mentioned the Bills, uh I mean they had a prove it game this past weekend. They really kicked the shit out of the Dolphins. Um the Bills coming off of 2 games including a game against the Raiders in which they beat them by probably 30, and then the Dolphins coming off a game where they beat a team by 50, and the Bills just killed them. So, um, yeah, for me right now, it's between the Bills and the Niners. Uh, and then the Chiefs game against the Jets, like they're not quite to form either. The
Mhm.
Chiefs. Um,
But it's a long season.
yeah,
They'll get there by the end of the season.
yeah,
The Chiefs kind of did this last year.
yeah, and I mean that's the thing about the Niners this season is like, you pointed out that in years past they tend to start slow, but this year they're now one of only 2 teams that are undefeated, along with the Eagles, the other team,
Mhm.
which is definitely interesting. Um, so if this is their slow start, right? Like we'll see how it goes come December and January.
If this is their slow start, I mean, the past would suggest that they start to really ramp up, and then Purdy's going to be dropping 50 points a game. So, if you're a Niner fan out there, you can expect 50, 60. Honestly, I mean, smash that like button if we can get the points to 100, huh? Triple digits. I'm just playing. No, honestly, I really foresee this offense just kind of scoring 30 every week. Like, how could you not with those weapons?
Yeah, and paired with the defense, I mean, like I said, bend don't break. Like, and with the stars on this defense, they're gonna get stops no matter what. I don't care if
Mhm.
a team's sticking around within one possession. Like, granted, the likelihood that you guys go undefeated is so low. So I'm just gonna say, you
Mhm.
guys will lose a couple games this year, and those would be the games where the defense somehow gives it up or the offense gets turnovers, like the Raiders right now, or I should just say the Raiders.
Mhm.
And things won't go right in some games, and that's fine because you guys again are a top 3 team, and it's not going to change. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Real quick, Fonzie is tuning back in. Fonzie, thank you for checking us out again. We really appreciate to have you in the chat. He has a great comment right here. He says, "I think the fact that it was a divisional game helped the Bills top the Dolphins." I think that is a great point. You never know what happens with divisional games, and I think Mike brought up, there's just no excuse for the way that the Cardinals were in that game. You never know with these divisional games. So I think that probably had something to do with the Cardinals being in there. They've never faced Jonathan Gannon's Cardinals before.
yeah,
So I honestly foresee the Niners playing them even better next time. And we'll
Yeah.
see who's even the quarterback by that point, because it might be Kyler Murray. I forget what week they play the Cardinals again, but Kyler Murray might possibly be back. Could be Josh Dobbs again, or if somebody goes down, they might have to revert to somebody else.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Another thing I want to say about this game is Brandon Ayuk. Dude, Brandon Ayuk is he's one of the funnest Niners to watch right now, dude. I have to say, in all my years watching the Niners, which honestly hasn't been that long compared to like a lot of other fans, you know what I mean? Like, there have been fans like, the fandom of Niners go back like way before like I was even born. Like, I'm talking about like when my dad was a kid. And I don't know if in my time watching football, I've seen a better wide receiver on the 49ers than Brandon Ayuk. You can argue that Deebo Samuel he had that amazing season 2 years ago, but I will take Brandon Ayuk constantly getting open over Deebo's production. But if you're asking me who I would rather have the ball in their hands in open space, I'm picking Deebo. Deebo will run through you. He'll run past you. He will make you like regret getting out of bed in the morning and suiting up in football pads. Brandon Ayuk will he'll take your ankles in the secondary. He is unguardable, I think, on the outside. I really like Ayuk. Him and Purdy's connection is legit. And, it's just so fun to watch because this, the Niners foundation has been like built on Montana and Rice's connection. Right. Well, actually, they won a Super Bowl before Jerry Rice. But, the whole Montana to Rice connection, the Steve Young to Jerry Rice connection, it's so iconic within this franchise. And I think Brandon Ayuk, he's playing fantastic this season. He's been playing great, ever since he got to the Niners. There was a little point where he was in the doghouse with Shanahan, but I think it was like a little bit of a miscommunication, ordeal on that front. But I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Ayuk. Yeah. But before we move on, I want to share my screen. I developed a spreadsheet in order to count, our predictions and everything. So real quick, Mike and I both predicted that Mike, you can see it, right? You guys can see it?
Yeah.
All right. We both predicted Niners. Niners won. So we currently, let me go ahead and include that. Currently for the Niners, we are both. Oh, I got to update this too. Wait a minute. I'll fix that later. We're 4 for 4. And we'll get to the Raiders side of it, but yeah, I'm so far so good with our predictions on 49ers this season. I might even cut that out of the the smaller section of the videos because I wasn't anticipating that it wasn't going to update live. Let me get to Fonzie's comment. And last season, Fred got into it with Ayuk. That is true. I feel that officially took the fear out of BA. I don't know if there was ever any fear with Brandon Ayuk. Like, you have to be fearless to go. Like, I think he took his helmet off and like squared up with Fred Warner. I wouldn't want to fight Fred Warner. Like, you kidding me? Fred Warner would murder me. Maybe Fred Warner is a nice guy. He would spare me. But Ayuk was protecting some of the offensive players because the defenders were knocking him down, and there were some down time. There were some down days for that offense last training camp, and Ayuk took a stand, and then the offense started to pick it up. So I think Ayuk, not only is he a great player, but he shows very, very great leadership qualities. that's why this season it seems nothing phases Brandon Ayuk. I think he's the ultimate team player, and he embodies, I think, what it means to represent the Niners. So moving on to 49ers versus Cowboys. So I think that the Cowboys are a great team with a great defense. I like the Niners odds in this game as well. It's going to be on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a Niner home game. Tickets are super expensive. The cheapest tickets for this game, Mike, is like $450.
No, that sounds about right. I remember seeing early on in the season, there was like a chart of like the 10 most expensive games, and this was like, I think it might have been top 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I just think that the Cowboys, they lost Stephon Diggs' brother, Trayvon Diggs. They he's out for the season with a torn ACL, and the Cowboys have lost to Arizona. Not that necessarily factors into this game, but I mean, when you've got the Niners offense playing like this, like who's going to outscore them? It will be a great measuring stick game because the Cowboys defense is good. So we'll be able to see Pittsburgh's defense was good, but I think the Cowboys defense is much better. And this will be great to see if they're still able to put up, 30 points. In the playoffs, they played against the Cowboys, and I think the Niners only ended up scoring 19 points. And that was Brock Purdy at the helm. That might have been Brock Purdy's only time failing to score 30. Besides the Eagles game where he got, knocked out of the game. But I'm talking about like when he started and finished the game. So it'll be interesting. Like, it's not the first time Purdy has seen this defense. So it's like, we'll see how Dallas adjusts to Purdy and how Purdy also adjusts to Dallas. But ultimately, I think McCaffrey is going to have a huge role. The defense has to step it up. My mind tells me that this should be a close game, but my heart tells me that the Niners make a statement on Sunday night against the Cowboys. I really have a great feeling about the Niners right now. I feel like, this is the Niners' year. I don't know if there's anybody who can stop the Niners right now but themselves. That's honestly how I feel right now. Mike, any thoughts about Niners Cowboys?
It'll definitely be. It might be the first primetime game that's really worth making sure that you watch. Like, I felt pretty strong about the Chiefs-Lions game, but by like the third quarter, I was doing something else, and then I just came back to see like the final 2 minutes. I can't really think of any other primetime games. I mean, the Raiders and Steelers game, it was already like both teams were 1-2 or whatever.
What about the Cowboys-Giants game? That was great.
Yeah, no. I don't know.
They gotta flex all the New York games out of primetime.
Yeah, it's a trend. I mean, New York and Dallas, even in years when Dallas is dog shit, they'll make sure they have 6+ primetime games. So, it'll definitely be interesting. The Cowboys are either absolutely demolishing teams or playing the Cardinals and somehow losing. They've been exceptional against the run, except for against the Cardinals for some reason. And I'm a firm believer that game planning is everything. Not everything. Like, obviously the players make a difference too, but like as far as matchups go, like it's not as simple as just Dallas, Cardinals, Niners, because Dallas lost to the Cardinals and the Niners beat the Cardinals, right? It's like, oh, clearly then the Niners are better than. It's like, no, any given Sunday, the Cowboys could go out there and they can game plan correctly, or at least perfectly, against Shanahan's game plan and whatnot, and pull out a win. Do I think that happens on Sunday? If it were in Dallas, I'd probably pick the Cowboys. But right now, I don't think I can pick against the Niners.
I also cannot pick against the Niners. The Niners are humming right now. Purdy's got the team in a great spot. And I mean, it's looking more and more like Brock Purdy absolutely is the guy to lead this Niners team to the promised land. I have a great feeling about Purdy. And, you know, I've had great feelings about quarterbacks in the past, but Purdy is actually showing results. And, you know, we won a lot of games in 2019 as well. And Jimmy Garoppolo also had the small sample size, but Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't doing this. Jimmy Garoppolo had the strong run game behind him. And I mean, that's not saying that the Niner run game right now isn't great. It's fantastic with Christian McCaffrey, but Purdy dishes the ball out. He puts it where it needs to be. He knows where he wants to go with the ball. He's able to escape from the pocket. It's a whole nother element to this offense, and it's such a pleasure to watch. I think Purdy, as long as, you know, he's able to protect himself. I know the offensive line, like the right side, isn't so strong, but it seems like Purdy is able to, you know, he knows. I think Dan Orlovsky sort of described it as Purdy knows when he's hot, and he drifts back, and he like he knows when the defenders are coming at him and when he needs to adjust himself in the pocket. So, you know, I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Brock.
Yeah. One last thing I'll say about Dallas is the teams that they have beaten, and I mean the point differential is essentially in 3 games, their opponents these games that they've won, their opponents have scored a total of 13 points. But, and this is a big reason why I'm picking the Niners, the quarterbacks in those games that the Dallas Cowboys won were Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones.
Yeah.
So, now, and again, they lost to Josh Dobbs. Is it Josh?
Yeah.
Dobbs?
Joshua Dobbs.
So, yeah, I can't pick the Cowboys as much as at the end of the day, I just want to see a really good game. The last thing I want to see, I know you would disagree with this, but the last thing I want to see is the Niners just completely run over the Cowboys. Like, if I'm going to sit there and actually watch the game, I want it to be like back and forth, with, you know, occasional turnovers and whatnot, and just make it interesting. Like, if the Niners get up to a 21-3 lead, I'm just going to check out and leave. So,
yeah. I mean, one thing I'm also like anticipating for this game is like, I think the Niners will get a turnover or two. I think Dak Prescott, you know, his tendency is to turn the ball over. And that seems to be, you know, from what Lorenzo describes, what kills the Cowboys is the turnovers. And that might be partly the reason why the Cowboys traded for quarterback Trey Lance from the Niners. And I wonder if that has any sort of element or any significance to this game, because Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, knows the 49ers really well. Well, he knows Kyle Shanahan really well in particular, because he was the head coach when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator over in Atlanta. Trey Lance, you know, I think knows the playbook. I wonder if they changed any of the calls. That might be like, that might be something interesting if Lance was more on the scout team this week, running, you know, more of the Niner stuff, because Lance knew all the calls, where all the receivers were going to be, you know, stuff like that. The first read, the second read. But really, at the NFL level, I feel like even defensive coordinators already know. So I don't know how significant that would be. I know it was pretty significant, like 20 years ago in the Super Bowl with John Gruden facing against his former team in the Raiders. Sorry to bring that up, Raider fans. But that might be like a little added dynamic. But I'm picking the 49ers over the Cowboys. I'm going to share my screen again so we can, show the spreadsheet. So this Cowboys. So I've got 49ers. Mike, final prediction?
49ers.
Okay. And I hope that this is green by the time we hit the next video. But yeah, I think we're ready to move on to our next topic, huh, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say is just I think the defensive lines for both teams are going to play pivotal roles in this game. If Dallas's D-line can play their heads off, they have a shot in this game. But I think the skill players for the Niners likely, make the difference in this game.
Yeah. Before we get to our next topic, I'm going to take a couple comments. So Chicano's tuning back in. We really appreciate you, coming by again. It's good to see you guys both interacting with one another, Fonzie and Chicano in the chat. Chicano has a question for Mike. I really want to know how Mike feels about his team and the direction they cut Deion Chandler-Jones. We will talk about that. We have a whole topic dedicated to this. So, hopefully you stick by and we'll answer that, how Mike feels. So he's saying what's up to Fonzie. Fonzie's got a prediction, 34-27 Niners. I will be concerned about the defense if they give up 27 points, but it won't be all bad if it won't be like such a terrible thing for the Niners to at least get battle tested with, some good opponents. And Chicano says we're great. So we appreciate you. You're great for checking us out. We love to have you guys here. All right, Mike, this is your topic, man. I'm going to let you take the floor. What did you see out of the Raiders versus Chargers?
Not very much, because I live in the Bay Area, and the game was not televised in the Bay Area, at least on local channels. If I had NFL Sunday Ticket, I could have seen it, but I frankly don't feel like paying, $400 for 3.5 months
500?
worth. Yeah, for 3.5 months worth of Sundays. I would essentially, if I paid that much money to, get the opportunity to watch any games that I want on Sunday, nobody would hear from me on Sundays if I'm putting that much money into that, and I'm not going to do that. So unfortunately for me and fellow Bay Area Oakland Raider fans, occasionally we're not going to get the Raiders locally. And I mean, if I'm being honest, it completely killed my fucking mood Sunday at about 12:58 when I checked the channel to see, okay, when's this game coming on? And I realized, okay, we got two 10 a.m. games in the Bay Area. We got Bills Dolphins, which great decision. And then for some dumb fucking reason we got, now I'm forgetting the game. I feel like it was the Rams game, I want to say. Rams Colts. Why?
That was in the morning.
Say that again?
That was in the morning, so that wasn't in the afternoon.
No,
so
I'm saying the Raiders the Bay Area got two 10 a.m. games.
Yes.
The Niners and Raiders played at 1 o'clock or 1:25, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bay Area got Dolphins, Bills on CBS. Great decision. I agree with that. On Fox, we got at 10 a.m. Rams, Colts.
I was watching that game.
Yeah, but like,
I'll tell you why,
Why?
because I had Anthony Richardson as my
No.
quarterback, and
No. Why?
I know,
Why
but
does the
why do
Bay
we have
Area?
that game?
Yeah.
It's
Why
because
do
it's
we
my
get that
championship
game?
year. They want me to see it. Sorry, Mike. No, I get what you mean. I'm over here, fucking you up. Go ahead, Mike.
I guess my point here is, okay, the NFL wants to make money, CBS wants to make money, Fox wants to make money, right? So what makes them think that giving the Bay Area the Colts versus Rams is going to make them more money than Raiders versus anybody, right? Now, one issue that I guess I understand why this happened maybe is that Rams versus Colts was on Fox and Raiders versus Chargers was on CBS. So maybe there's no way of controlling that other than not giving us the Bills versus Dolphins game and giving us the 1:00 slate instead. I don't know how it works. I don't know how they go about deciding which games get put on. All I know is if your team is local, you're getting it. And unfortunately for me and every other Oakland Bay Area Raider fan, we will sometimes not get that. And that is the number one reason why I hate that they relocated. Other than that, it's really fine. But yeah, I'd love to go to an Oakland game. I'd love to, genuinely say like, yeah, that's my home team, but that's the past at this point. So to answer your question of what did I see, I didn't get to see much. Luckily, we have NFL Plus and NFL Red Zone. So I was able to watch parts of the game on Red Zone. At first, when I realized that I wasn't getting it locally, I kind of gave up and just said, I'm going to go do something else and just watch the replay of the game at 5:00. But then I just couldn't help but sit there and go, no, I need to know live what's happening. Partially because if we lost the game, I wasn't going to want to watch the replay. But if we won the game, you bet your ass I'm going to sit there at 5 to 8 watching the replay. So basically, what I caught was the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, because that's when Red Zone really starts actually showing games. And the Raiders attempted another comeback similar to last Sunday night against the Steelers. And they did not succeed. Bear in mind, we were starting a rookie quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. And the fact that we could stay in that game after he had fumbled, he might have had 3 fumbles in this game. Let me see.
I think he did. 2 were recovered by the defense, and 1 was recovered by the Raiders.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I saw the game this morning because I, just like you, was not able to catch it live, and then also it was on at the same time as the Niner game. So I just watched the condensed replay on NFL Plus since we've got that. I want to say, you brought up the whole paying $400 for YouTube TV, for 3.5 months of football. The only way I would do that is if they also gave Thursday night football games, they gave the local games, and if they gave Monday night football. They've got to include it all, and we need replays. They should combine NFL Plus and Sunday Ticket, and I really think it would probably be worth the money.
Yeah. So lots of turnovers again for the Raiders offense, which really was their demise. And I mean, that was kind of expected for the Raiders offense with the rookie quarterback, but giving up 6 sacks to Khalil Mack. That doesn't. I mean, that was probably a massive reason why not only we lost, but also, there were multiple turnovers or fumbles by the quarterback. Josh Jacobs, 17 carries for 58 yards, 3.4 average yard per rush. It's not really getting it done. Aiden O'Connell, 24 for 39 for 238 yards, only an interception, no touchdowns. He did have a rushing touchdown.
It was a quarterback sneak.
Yeah, it was on the goal line.
Yeah.
QB rating of 68.1. So, I mean, about what you'd expect from a rookie 4th-round quarterback in week 4. But yeah, unfortunately, this has led us to a 1-3 start to the season. Yeah. I will say one thing about the end of this game, because again, I didn't really catch much else. The Raiders were down. Let me see if I can actually see. Maybe that'd be Gamecast. I'm not sure. Okay, sorry. Really? Oh, okay. The Raiders were down 10-24 in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, with about 11 minutes to go, they got a touchdown. So they go down 24-17. Now they're down a touchdown. They get the ball. The defense stops the Chargers. They get the ball. They march down. They get to like the 4-yard line. And let me see if I can actually get a play-by-play. Well, shit. Because I want to know the exact down to go that Aiden O'Connell threw the interception.
It was on the goal line. So it was actually it sealed the deal on the game. So it might have been 1st and goal or 2nd and goal. And
I know it wasn't 3rd. My whole point is just, why not run your veteran running back? Like, what happened to the Raiders in this game at the end, when they had all the momentum, was essentially what happened to the Seahawks in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. You should have handed it off to your all-pro running back, and instead you put it in the hands of the rookie quarterback. I mean, again, you're on the 4-yard line or 2-yard line, whatever it was. Like, you could just run the ball. You could even run a draw. Like, if you sell out a pass, the defense might sell out for the pass. Obviously, if you line up with a I formation, you got the fullback on the field, and it's like all bunched up on the line, the defense is going to sell out for the run. Like, don't do that, but run the ball. At least give Jacobs a chance to get your touchdown that you need. But instead, they do a little rollout pass, and I'm forgetting the corner's name. Asante Samuel Jr. picks it off. Yeah, so my whole point to that is just,
they try to run a pick play.
Yeah, it's not the best play calling, in my opinion. Like, I think you can run the pick play on 3rd down. Why not run the ball on 1st and 2nd down and just see what happens with your all-pro running back?
So what happened on that play? I saw the play a couple times earlier. I just kept rewinding it back because, it was the play of the game, right? So they ran a pick play on the right, and it looked like, Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams nearly ran into each other. So I think that they thought it was man coverage, and I think that they thought Asante Samuel Jr. was going to follow Adams, but Asante Samuel Jr. stayed in coverage right there, and O'Connell never saw him, and he threw the ball there. And if O'Connell is able to see Asante Samuel Jr. right there, he throws it literally. Samuel Jr. is standing exactly right where Jacoby Myers is supposed to catch the ball. or, if he's open, where the ball would be, O'Connell has to recognize that corner is there, and he's got to. I think there was another receiver at the top. I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been Renfro, but he was like, probably would have been open if you want to go to like the second read over the middle part of the end zone. So it was just really unfortunate that's how the game ended up like ending. But yeah, I mean, can I tell you what I saw? Like, out of the game, what I saw out of the game was the offensive line had they had trouble run blocking. Josh McDaniels, I think, did a good job of getting Jacobs the ball and getting a little bit more creative than he was in the past couple games, because they have not been able to generate rushing lanes to let Josh Jacobs run free. So Jacobs ended up having 80 something receiving yards. Can you confirm that for me, Mike? You're muted.
If my phone will load.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's just say I believe he had 80 something receiving yards. The offense
for 81.
Yeah, 81 receiving yards. So, Jacobs was able to get going in open space, and that really was like most of their offense. O'Connell, to me, it was his first start in the NFL, and there's really there should be low expectations for a fourth round rookie. He just looks so good in the preseason that we thought that maybe it would translate to the regular season, which is why all Raider fans and even me, I wanted to see O'Connell start, because I think that part of me believes that maybe the offense, the Raiders offense is better with O'Connell at the helm than it is with Jimmy Garoppolo, because I think O'Connell can throw the ball a little bit better deep. But O'Connell looked to me, he looked like he didn't know where to go with the ball, and he looked a little underprepared, or it just he had a lot of pressure in his face, and there were some plays where he doesn't have the check down to throw to, and then there were some plays where he did have the check down, and he's got to look for that guy because Khalil Mack is screaming down your neck, or actually sometimes it was like right in his face, and he just didn't see him. It was like to the right of him, right? Khalil Mack coming past the Illuminor, the right tackle. Yeah. So O'Connell looked a little indecisive, and still, even with that, I think the Chargers are a good football team, and I predicted them to win this game, no matter who was playing quarterback. But the fact that the Raiders were in it until that last possession that they had, and then, obviously they turned the ball over again, and that was the name of the game, or that was what sealed the Raiders' fate, was the turnovers, for the game against the Chargers. But the Raiders were right there in the ball game, and they played horrendously on offense for most of the game. So there's at least that silver lining to look at.
Yeah, I predicted the Raiders to win if so long as they didn't start Brian Hoyer. And the fact that Aiden O'Connell could fumble and lose the ball twice and still be in it with 3 minutes to go, and I not only just be in it, but be right on the cusp of scoring the game-tying points right before the 2-minute warning, and then the interception happens. At the end of the day, they lost, and then there's not many moral victories to take from it. But the fact that you could trot out your rookie quarterback, and honestly, if you take away those 2 fumbles, which are mostly on the offensive line, but also in part on Aiden O'Connell being a rookie and, like you said, looking a little unprepared. But you take away those fumbles, I think the Raiders do win this game. But I will pair that with this. I don't think that's saying much if the Raiders would have gone out there and won the game because they were missing all of their star players not named Justin Herbert. They were missing Austin Eckler, Joey Bosa.
Mike
Well, also
Evans.
Keenan.
I mean, not Mike
Mike,
Evans. Mike Williams.
yeah. I should also mention, they still had Keenan Allen and obviously Khalil Mack, but they were missing Mike Williams, who's now gone for the year, Eckler, and Boza, and they couldn't do it. I mean, they gave up again. The amount of pressure that they gave up to Khalil Mack is just atrocious.
They gave up 6 sacks.
Yeah, 6 sacks, but even like the amount of pressures that he had on O'Connell were insane. So yeah, which, I mean, honestly, this kind of gets me to my next point, which you can move to that now. The question at hand is it time to panic within the Raiders organization, sitting at 1-3 in 2023, going into week 5? Yeah, it's time to panic. And it's not just for this season. This is, and all Raider fans will agree at this point, this is a coaching issue. This is a Josh McDaniels issue. I mean, we can't pin this game on Garoppolo, right? But, I mean, Josh McDaniels in the post-game press conference said something along the lines of, playing quarterback in this league is about protecting the football or something like that. And he was probably just saying it to say it and to be truthful. But if you really sit there and think about it, it just sounds like he's blaming the rookie.
Like he threw Aiden O'Connell under the bus a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he fumbled 3 times, and he threw the game-sealing interception at the end that you called, by the way. But also, your offensive line gave up. I'd really like to know how many pressures in this game, let alone 6 sacks to one player. Which also, McDaniels claims that they threw everything they could at Khalil Mack. I saw a stat that I should have kept and read out loud right now, but I want to say it said something along the lines of, like, let's say Khalil Mack played on 40 snaps. He was only double teamed twice. So if that's throwing everything you can at Khalil Mack, you could suck my dick.
Jesus.
It's so bad right now. It's not even funny. Yeah, I mean, if you can't beat this team without most of their star players, and then Justin Herbert out there throwing with one hand because, come the third quarter, he had a broken middle finger. It's just not good. I mean, every single loss so far this season has given more and more reason to pin the blame on Josh McDaniels. And it's just not good. And again, beating the Broncos in week 1 is not saying much at all. It's really not. I mean, they barely beat probably the worst team in football, the Chicago Bears. They barely beat them. And for most of the game, the Bears were killing them. So that's my weekly Broncos slander. But I just I'm officially tired of it, and I hate it that I'm already at the point. It's week 4. I mean, going on week 5, and I want a rebuild. I'm so done. There is no sign that this is going to get better. And, like, granted, I actually really do like Dave Ziegler. I just think that the grass is certainly greener on the other side. And with most coaching candidates that are potentially out there, I just can't help but sit here and think, yeah, that's probably better than McDaniels come 2 years from now.
Who are your coaching candidates?
Because
I've got 2 off the top of my head.
I want to hear yours first.
I've got Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders right now. He was the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs, and he would be returning to the AFC West. And I think it would be good for the Raiders to have a little inside information on what's going on in Kansas City. And then also, you might be able to pair him with a quarterback if you guys are able to get a guy like Caleb Williams in the draft, if it so comes to that. My next head coaching, candidate for the Raiders, who honestly should have been the hire in the first place, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I want to find my list because I actually sent it in our fantasy group chat. Jim Harbaugh, I don't see there being. I'll give it a 1% chance that he gives the Raiders his time.
Because they didn't hire him before.
Well, maybe that, but it's mostly just how he's doing at Michigan. I think they're ranked number 2 right now. Like, he probably has all the drive in the world to win a college football championship with his alma mater, and him as the head coach. Like, I think that's his drive right now. And once he gets that, it might be, I'm ready to go back in the NFL and, do that again. But I just can't help but think that right now he just signed a new extension, I want to say, with them. I just don't see that. And then honestly, Bieniemy might be one of my least favorite options. And that's no slack at you. Like, he's been the hot name for the past 3+ years, but something about him rubs me the wrong way. And I just think there were rumors that he and Mahomes and just the Chiefs offense were not clicking well back in his time with them. And the tea leaves suggested to me that the Chiefs wanted him to leave and were kind of waiting for him to leave. And 2 years ago, he didn't get a job. And then last year, he left for a different offensive coordinator job, So, and then just pair that with the fact that Washington's offense isn't really looking that good right now. Like, Brian Robinson's doing good, but their passing game isn't that good. And that might be a quarterback issue, but still, man, I want to find my list. I know my top option right now is Dan Quinn from the Cowboys, and Lorenzo from our fantasy football league is a Dallas Cowboy fan, and he says there's no chance that Dan Quinn leaves. I think he might very well be right, but at the same time, I just can't help but think that most coordinators would go to the right situation. And that's really the question for him and the Raiders is the Raiders a team that a upper echelon coach can find as the right situation, because what they would be stepping into is quite possibly a full rebuild, minus Max Crosby. And I mean, Crosby could be a big selling point for him, but you're going to have to find a new quarterback. You're going to have to probably tear up this offense almost completely, minus maybe Colton Miller. Devontae Adams will not last through a rebuild. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a trade piece come even this trade deadline, but I would expect next offseason. Josh Jacobs would probably go. You would just completely start over, I think. And my thinking right now is what the Raiders should do is they should get a defensive-minded head coach, like an upper echelon defensive coordinator, and then pair him with a young, up-and-coming offensive mind in a very successful offense, or at least a very successful system in the NFL. I mean, the obvious idea is somebody from the Shanahan system, because almost everywhere you look, there are former offensive coaches from the Shanahan tree that are winning, succeeding very well on offense. I mean, I don't know about the Vikings because their team is kind of dog shit, but their offense is still like prolific passing wise. The Dolphins are
Well,
the obvious one. The Rams
the
right
Viking
now.
the Vikings don't come from Kyle Shanahan's coaching tree. You could argue that they come from Mike Shanahan's coaching tree, um, but Kevin O'Connell comes from Sean McVay's coaching staff in LA.
Yeah, well, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm thinking back to the Redskins, Shanahan, which that had LaFleur, McVay, uh, Shanahan, obviously. I want to say McDaniel was on that Redskins coaching staff, and I want to say the Vikings coach was on that Redskins staff.
He might have been.
I think, but like when I say tree, I mean that's the point of the tree is Sean McVay is a part of that, and his coaches that he branches off and teaches, like they're still from the Shanahan tree, and it's probably still the Shanahan offense. So maybe a little different in certain ways, but nonetheless, it's been very successful. So,
Would you want Anthony Lynn? He's the Niners' current assistant head coach. He used to be the head coach of the Chargers.
right. I doubt it. I mean, again, like my thinking right now is give me a defensive head coach and then give me a young offensive coordinator.
Would the
Likely
Niners get a third-round pick for Anthony Lynn getting hired as a head coach?
100%. At least I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
so.
not. Maybe not, but I think so.
Hey, I'll take another third-round pick.
Is he their offensive coordinator?
No, he is the assistant head coach and helps with the run game. But his official title, I believe, is assistant head coach.
He might, but I'm not sure. I mean, that's a solid option for sure. I just feel like he's not specifically from the Shanahan tree. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I think Dan Quinn is like the ultimate, like that's a guy I can see coming in, completely flipping the defense, and then whoever he chooses for the offense coordinator paired with the GM can flip the offense, and hopefully it all works. But on defense, like that can get significantly better with Dan Quinn. But I find him to be a little unrealistic. I think the most realistic option that I am just head over heels for right now, and I think matches the Raiders perfectly, is Brian Flores, the former head coach of the Dolphins, and I think current defensive. I think he's the linebacker coach for the Steelers, but I could be wrong. He got royally fucked by the NFL and specifically Stephen Ross. Yeah. So, he got fired, I want to say, for not winning when the owner told him to tank or something weird. It was just weird. And, he ended up, I want to say, suing and everything, or at least there was a big legal matter behind that. So, I find him to be one of the great defensive minds in football, and he's just kind of the sleeping giant in the background that nobody's thinking about. And I think, I mean, his Dolphins team went from like winning 7 straight games to like losing 7. It was some weird shit, but like he had the Dolphins team humming at one point, and I feel like he's the type of coach that players would fight for, whereas Josh McDaniels is not that guy. And he just fits the Raiders versus the NFL mantra. Like it would be Brian Flores and the Raiders versus the NFL. And I think the players would buy into him, Ben Johnson, the offense coordinator for the Lions, is another pretty obvious choice just because he's been getting a lot of hype the past year or two.
You wouldn't want Kellen Moore from the Chargers?
I feel like he'd want to stay for another year or two with the Chargers because
I also feel like that. Yeah.
He just started, he just joined them. Like, I think he needs a couple years to really develop his, his coaching prowess. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see that. I feel like there was one more name that I had. Okay, hold on. Raheem Morris, the defensive
Mm,
coordinator for the Rams. He was a guy when the Raiders hired McDaniels that I was looking at and thinking, like, I think he could be solid. I think before he joined the Rams that same offseason, he was previously with the Falcons and had their defense playing solid, you know. And I think he became like the interim head coach or something like that, and he did well. So, and then also the Rams offensive coordinator or pass game coordinator, whoever it is, Mike LaFleur, right? He used to be with the Niners.
yeah, he's the run game coordinator, I believe, in New York.
Yeah. Like, I don't know about him as a head coach, but he could be a potential offensive coordinator option to pair with like a Dan Quinn or Raheem Morris. So that's
You
just,
want
I
me to
mean,
be
to answer
honest,
your
Mike?
question. Yeah.
None of those guys are pushing the needle for me for the to make the Raiders competitive in the next couple years. I really like, and they could absolutely prove me wrong, right?
Mm,
I would have. It's just I would have to see it to believe it, and maybe I just don't know enough about those guys, and they need to step in and show me. You know what I mean?
right.
But I've seen Jim Harbaugh, what he can do to a team with talented players and instill like a winning belief in there. And I just feel like, let's just say I mean, you guys are going to have to keep Jimmy Garoppolo for the next couple of years. I wonder if Jimmy Garoppolo would respond well with Harbaugh's coaching, because Alex Smith's career was like in the dumps before Jim Harbaugh came in and like actually gave him confidence. And then Alex Smith stopped turning the ball over and became like a very safe player.
Mm,
And I mean, that's just me like defending Jim Harbaugh and like me saying, I like my guy. I don't like your guys. Like, you know, a guy, somebody can come in here, um, and, they can very well prove me wrong. But, just you guys are in such a competitive division. Like, I really don't know what the solution is for the Raiders. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a great feeling about any of the guys that you named.
well, that's why my brain leads me towards a defensive head coach, a successful defensive coordinator, namely Dan Quinn and Brian Flores, because if they can build the defense that they want to build, I mean, if Dan Quinn can build a replica of Dallas's current defense, you pit that against, the Chiefs with an aging at that point, hopefully. He's not going to age. Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert. But my point with aging is just you would also theoretically draft a quarterback really high. So you'd have hopefully a young, up and coming rising star at quarterback paired with a great defense that gives you the ability to beat the Chiefs and the Chargers and whatever the Broncos end up doing in 3 to 5 years from now. And like again, Mahomes is going to last what will feel like forever somehow, and Herbert might last longer, but I kind of doubt it. It's going to be
Here's
a long process regardless for the Raiders, but at some point I hope that the Raiders have their quarterback of the future and they can build up a good defense, which I have not seen in my life for this team. And at that point, hopefully Mahomes and Herbert can be going downhill and the Raiders can be going uphill. And maybe in 5 to 7 to 10 years from now, I can actually see the Raiders do what the Niners are doing right now. Because as long as the Raiders are in this AFC West with those two quarterbacks, namely Mahomes, but also Herbert, you're gonna need excellent coaching, excellent players, excellent everything, and it's gonna take a while.
mhm. Here's, in my opinion, the flaw in the logic about wanting to build a great defense. The issue is that Mahomes and the Chiefs, they run a great offense that beats great defenses. So you would, I mean, in the NFL nowadays, I feel like great offenses beat great defenses. It didn't used to be that way, but the game has like, it's been slowly shifting into every single rule favors the offense, and I feel like you definitely need a great defense, right? But it's not everything. I don't think it's everything. And I think if you're going to get that young quarterback, he would seriously benefit from having a very bright offensive mind. And I think you're on the right track about, you said you want somebody like from the Shanahan coaching tree. I don't know who that would be right now because like they've been taken over the past couple years by so many teams now. You said you want either a defensive guy or a Shanahan disciple?
I mean, Ben Johnson, I want to say is his name, from the Lions. I just want a successful offensive mind, like an offensive mind, up and coming, young offensive mind from a successful offense in the NFL. McDaniels is theoretically that because, they were so successful, but it's like, you had Brady and you had great defenses, how much of that was Brady? How much of that was McDaniels? How much of that was Belichick? Right.
Mm-hmm.
What the trend that I've seen in this league is that hiring coaches that are older rarely works. And maybe that already falters my Dan Quinn hopes. I feel like these teams that get a coach like Mike McDaniel, at the time for the Niners, Kyle Shanahan, right? Like these offensive coordinators that are coming out of successful offenses, and then just like within 2 years, repeating that and on their own team, and they're humming, Sean McVay on the Rams. And again, those are all from the Shanahan coaching tree, so there's a obvious repetitiveness there. But then there's also like Sirianni from the Eagles. And then right now the Colts look pretty solid. Maybe Shane Steichen's that next guy. It's like if we can find that offensive mind that just has it and isn't an old-fashioned fucking idiot with repetitive and extremely predictable play calling, like that's what they need. And again,
that's
my whole point
issue with McDaniels.
Your
whole point.
I agree with that, and that was my issue with John Gruden. Was they're both old-fashioned, old-school offenses that have become predictable. And McDaniels and Gruden both, they don't do anything interesting or to throw off the defense at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. Mike McDaniel, if you watch a Dolphins game, it is so fantastic seeing Tyreek Hill line up at tight end, and then Tua lifts his left leg, and then Tyreek Hill goes in motion and gains a full sprint, and then at hike turns up like he's in the fucking Canadian Football League, and he's running at full speed. It's amazing. And you're also getting a tell of whether the defense is in man or zone. Like you get everything that you need from that little decision. Every single play, it'll be Tyreek Hill, it'll be Jalen Waddle, it'll be Raheem Mostert, now Devon Achane, right? It's like they have all these weapons and they send him in motion before the play starts. You have at least one guy that's running a full sprint as the play is called at hike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just little shit like that paired with the offense being uber successful. It's like, yeah, no wonder, Mm-hmm. Whereas the Raiders, it's like, yeah, let's just throw out this 2002 offense,
Mm-hmm. I'm convinced that you and I are on the same page in terms of I think the Raiders, what they're missing and what they need out of their next head coach, or what they need Josh McDaniels to do, is just get creative. The Raiders need a creative head coach. They need creative play calling, like you said, to keep the defenses on their toes and not run the vanilla, I'm sorry. I'm tired of watching the Patriots offense. Like it's so fucking boring, dude. It's like, you know, uh, run up the middle, run up the middle, run up the middle, and then dump off to the running back, dump off to the running back, dump off to the running back. At least with the Raiders, like Devontae Adams gets open, pretty often, but there's no. I feel like the Raiders could use more creativity in their offense. You send more guys in motion, run a little bit more jet sweeps to really open up the field. But I think McDaniels is sort of stuck in like the play calling for Brady because it worked then. And, it's just those Patriots teams were also, a lot of them were carried by a great defense, which the Raiders don't have.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think they ever will have until they figure it out with the proper coaching staff on defense. It's just been a fucking funnel for lackluster defensive coordinator after lackluster defensive coordinator. The best they ever played on defense that I've seen was in 2016 when they were getting a lot of turnovers, and that was with Khalil Mack at the helm, and the head coach was Jack Del Rio, a defensive-minded head coach. I just can't help but think that if they could focus on defense early, because I think that takes longer to develop. If you can focus on defense early, get that going, and then a year into the new regime, you draft that quarterback, you trade picks if you have to, you get the guy that's clearly your top choice, right? And that's the general manager's call. That's the scouts, showing what they have seen, and also your offensive coordinator and probably QB coach agreeing that, yeah, this guy is like it. If you can bring him into a scenario where he's surrounded by young talent, hopefully maybe a veteran left tackle in Colton Miller, maybe hopefully a better offensive line, because it's now becoming a problem. If he has a defense that can help him, it can be successful relatively early on. Whereas if we keep trotting out these quarterbacks, namely like Derek Carr, who have to accommodate to our defense giving up 30 fucking points on average, it's not going to fucking work, especially against this division. If you can limit this division to 21 points, if your offense is good enough, if your offensive coordinator is smart enough, and if the coaching is great, you can win games. You can win when your opponent scores 21. You cannot win majority of the time when your opponent scores north of 30 points. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me being, I don't know what the term is, but basically just really wanting to see the Raiders with an actually good defense, like a consistently good defense. Because even 2016, it wasn't consistent. It was just the turnovers. If I can see a consistently good defense paired with a young quarterback who continuously gets better and better, and, as the years go by, you add more and more to the offense, eventually it will work. So long as the coaches are the right coaches for the job, which at this point, unfortunately, I do not think Josh McDaniels is. So, yes, it is time to panic. At this rate, I've said it multiple times. I want them to tank. I want them to just fire him and get worse. I want it to get worse at this point. There's no way that they're making the playoffs.
Real quick, I just want to say the fucking timing of that. You said it's time to panic, and then you just hear the grandfather clock in the background. Boom. Boom. like it was like the church bells, dude. Like, oh my God. That was perfect.
It's hell's bells.
Yeah. I just want to take, let's backtrack a little bit. So, about the whole time to panic. It's still week 4 in the season. And you guys, I mean, let's just go a little silver lining for 2023 because, like, the whole hiring another head coach can go a million different ways. I don't know if it's time to fire Josh McDaniels yet. I think it's still early, and frankly, Mark Davis can't really afford to pay another coach on top of still paying Gruden right now. And I think he wants to give McDaniels time to see through his plan. The McDaniels and Ziegler plan. Right?
Is that confirmed that Mark Davis is still paying Gruden? I thought Gruden resigned.
Well, I thought that one of the reasons why they couldn't, that they wouldn't fire McDaniels last season was because that they were still paying Gruden.
I don't know who said that. It's probably just some douchebag. But the thing about firing McDaniels last season was that it was year 1 on a team that he didn't build. Like, that's why I was positive that even this year they won't fire him. And that has changed very quickly because I expected it to be better than this. And it feels worse, honestly. And that was kind of my fear with signing Garoppolo, was like, okay, that's not moving the needle at all for me, but whatever. And I figured the defense get better and shit, and it's
in that Charger game, though, the defense allowed 0 points in the second half. There's some silver lining there.
No, that actually was something I wanted to talk about. The one positive I've seen from this defense, maybe team overall, other than Devontae Adams and obviously Max Crosby and Jacoby Myers, is that this defense has managed to, in 3 out of the 4 games, play bend but don't break defense, and specifically very strong defense in the fourth quarter. When the game is on the line, the defense gives the ball back to the offense and gives them the opportunity to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
In week 1 against the Broncos, they stopped the Broncos from scoring on at least 1, if not 2 drives at the end of the game, and gave the Raiders the ball to go get the go-ahead score, and then again to kill the clock and win the game. In week 3 against the Steelers, I mean, if you still remember the game, they were completely out of it, and then in the fourth quarter, we were able to almost come back and make a run at tying that game because of the defense. And then this past Charger game, down 24-10, fourth quarter, there was an interception by Trevon Merrick, which was a weird throw by Herbert. And then just an absolute stop, of the Chargers offense. There was also a 4th and 1 play that, Staley had to go for, and the Raiders stopped him. I don't know. That's the one positive I've seen from this defense for sure, is that in the fourth quarter, when it really matters, they managed to, apparently take it more seriously or something, and, play really stingy defense.
So if you want to just focus on week 4, right? Because you have to take these things 1 week at a time. The defense stepped up when it needed to, and the offense theoretically did not step up. They turned the ball over, but it was a rookie quarterback in his first start. So I don't know if you need to go like DEFCON, I don't know what the number is, but like, I don't know if you need to go like full on crisis mode yet, but I understand the logic. If playoffs is not a possibility, you want to tank and by all means get Caleb Williams. By all means, you want him on your team. But a little silver lining here. The Raiders have played 3 of their road games now. They've gotten, they have 3 losses, which sucks, but they've got a lot more home games left than road games. They've already cleared out a chunk of that. And, playing at home could be the difference between winning and losing, like a close matchup. Like I see, obviously the Raiders are going to play the Packers. That's going to be like a do or die sort of like, you know what? This season comes down to this. It's honestly, most of these games are must win for the Raiders going forward. After the Packers, they've got the Patriots. I think you guys can beat the Patriots. I really think that you can. I don't think the Patriots are that good. And that is also at home. And then your next road game is at Chicago. I think you guys can beat Chicago. And so let's just say that you guys really should have beat the Steelers. I picked the Raiders because they needed to have that game, right? And they almost did, right? But McDaniels had the lapses in judgment, which is causing you to think he's not the guy as the head coach. Nathaniel Hackett got fired for similar things last year, for stupid mistakes. And this season can quickly, I think, turn around. Enough to make the playoffs? I don't know. But it's almost shaping up to be one of those seasons where the Raiders just narrowly miss the playoffs, and I know that drives you absolutely insane, and you would rather just rip the Band-Aid off, start new, and I completely understand. To me, you're either first or you better be last in the NFL. It's like, what is the moral victory of not winning the Super Bowl? Nothing.
Well, that right there, that statement, you're either first or you better be last, is exactly why this Niners defense has gotten so dominant, because you guys were a solid team in 2018.
We suck.
And then Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt in week 2 or 3, and you proceeded to earn the second overall pick, right? And who did you take? Nick Bosa, right? The highest paid defensive player in football. So
highest paid non-quarterback in football.
Yeah, that is that is what I want. I'm looking 5 to 10 years ahead. That's how much I care about this team. I will take all the losses in the world if that means that in 5 years from now we can be a juggernaut. That's what I'll take. And I've already gone through 15 years of bullshit. What's 5 more years? Right?
What if I told you don't have to wait? You just need to take off that hat and put on one of these. Join us, Mike. Yeah. Come to the gold side. We've been waiting for you, my child.
Niner fan family members.
Yeah, see, you'd fit right in.
No, I'm just saying I would. Either way, I get to experience it. And it sucks being so devoted to the Raiders that I cannot enjoy what the Niners are doing at all. If they win the Super Bowl, like, I'll enjoy the excitement from like family members and friends, but like I'll also just sit there like shaking my head just because it's like I'd be jealous. I'd be like, I'm not going to experience this I might not experience it in my life. Genuinely, I do not know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the ongoing trend of my fanhood.
I might not experience it in my life. I really believe that I will this season. I really believe that this is finally time. But there's a chance that I don't as well. So, that's part of the fun about, watching week in and week out. It's like, we learn more and more about these teams. But to answer the question, is it time to panic in Vegas? I personally believe there might still be a small glimmer of hope. But if it's not going to work out and you guys are not going to win the playoffs, you're not going to make the playoffs, then I don't know if I would say it's time to panic, but I would say the strategy should definitely be it's time to tank.
Yeah, and what sucks is, at least not many NFL teams are going to actually go out of their way to tank. That's just not very realistic. I'm just saying, like, I would rather Mark Davis rip the Band-Aid, fire McDaniels if they lose to the Packers, and put the worst possible coach that you can at the helm, like the Colts with Jeff Saturday. Like that is as close as you get to tanking at the top of the organization as you can. Is just putting a guy from fucking ESPN to lead your team. And oh, by the way, that guy from ESPN went out there and got his first fucking win against the Raiders.
Oh my!
So
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, dude, could you imagine the Raiders hiring the fucking like worst candidate possible and him actually being fucking successful and winning
I
games?
hope
He's like,
the Raiders hire Dan Orlovsky, and every time that they get the ball after a really good punt by the opposing team on the 2-yard line, I hope our quarterback just runs out of the back of the end zone, and then we proceed to punt the ball right back and give them 2 free points. No, I don't know who they would put in the interim, but give me the worst possible choice, please.
It's like that episode of South Park, like when they're trying to lose so they don't have to play Little League anymore. Like they're trying to lose in like the All-Star tournament, and then they end up getting to the championship game because like all the other kids on the other teams are trying to lose, and then so they call in Kyle's cousin, who is like, absolutely like, he's kind of like he almost seems like they make him seem like the most annoying character, and like he's like really bad physically, and like just like there's nothing, but he actually tries, and they can't stop winning.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna happen to the Raiders. They're gonna put a janitor as head coach.
Yeah, honestly, kudos to the Cardinals for playing the way that they have, because everybody had them dead to rights to win the first overall pick. It almost feels clear that the Bears are just trying to get the first overall pick, although the Broncos are giving them a run for their money, and specifically the Panthers are also giving them a run for their money. But this could quickly become a race with the Raiders. So just, you mentioned the upcoming games. This will kind of be my last point on this, and we can move on. Mm-hmm. Week 5, Green Bay, and then New England, both at home. Yes, they're both winnable games. I won't give you the spoiler on my Green Bay pick yet. But New England, honestly, they just lost their top pass rusher and their top corner. And Mac Jones has just stunk it up. I could see us winning that game. And maybe I'll enjoy that. But then after that, it's like, can we please lose? And like, okay, how about this? Let's say we lose to Green Bay and it's like a close New England game, and maybe we lose that one, but maybe we squeak out a win, but it's like ugly. But then we go to Chicago in week 7. If we lose that game, does McDaniels get fired at, what would that be, 2-5 or 2-5? Can you fire him? Let's say at that point, the Chicago Bears are 0-6 going into that game, and we hand them their first win. Is that a fireable offense?
Well, it depends. If Josh McDaniels is behind the scenes and is like, yeah, we're really hoping to get that first overall pick, we're if he's telling Mark Davis like, yeah, we're gonna get the right quarterback. We like these guys so far. That our scouts have shown us film.
If McDaniels if McDaniels is back there telling Mark Davis like, hey, like I know this sucks, but like, listen, we're gonna do everything in our power to get Caleb Williams. When we need to go and score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, I'm kicking the field goal.
Yeah.
When we need to go and score a touchdown on the 4-yard line against the Chargers and it's 1st and goal, I'm throwing the fucking football straight to the defensive back.
Yeah, he's like, all right, Mark, you see these rings? I got 6 of them. Trust me that I'm going to get this right. Yeah. And we're going to lose, and we're going to get Caleb Williams. That's who you want, right, Mark? And he's like, I'm going to make it look so like we're going to look like trash, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to be in the ball game, and right at the end, I'm going to fuck it up. I'll wear that. Oh, we're that mark.
Last year it was like we're gonna lead games by 3 possessions, and we're gonna fucking blow them. This year it's just like we're gonna be losing by 2 possessions, and we're gonna get back in it, and then I'm gonna make a boneheaded fucking decision.
We're gonna sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and then we're gonna extend him.
Yeah, no, we're gonna sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and before he even plays 1 week of football, we're gonna give him a signing bonus that guarantees his contract for the second year of his deal, basically pinning us to Jimmy Garoppolo for at least one more season. No, but honestly, if I were them, if I were the head coach, and I knew that like Mark Davis was along for the ride, no matter what, and as long as I give him a foolproof plan, my plan would be: we're going to beat the Broncos week 1. We're going to play some solid football, but lose every single fucking game after that until week 18 when we face the Broncos again and we kick their fucking ass and we keep our win streak against them alive, but we just lose every other game and earn the first overall pick. Like, just against one team, we could just be like, well, see, we're good.
Yeah.
But then against every other team, it's like, how can we blow this?
Well, okay, let me give you a comparison. Jed York hired Kyle Shanahan after 2016, and the Niners went like 6-10. I think they were 6-10 in 2017 with Kyle Shanahan. So they got like the number 3 overall pick that year. No, wait.
Well, no, that led to Solomon Thomas.
No. Solomon Thomas was in before they went 6-10.
Oh, maybe they had 4 wins.
That was Shanahan's first pick when he inherited the team with Solomon Thomas.
Right.
After that, they earned like the 9th pick and got Mike McGlinchey. Right. And my whole point with this was Jimmy Garoppolo went down week 3. Jimmy Garoppolo also went down week 3 for the Raiders. I mean, look at Kyle Shanahan now. I mean, if you have an owner who's patient, who actually believes in the coach, they'll be patient with the guy if they actually have belief in him, and things might actually turn around.
Oh, I mean, that's still my thought process for Mark Davis is he wants the head coach and GM to get the proper amount of time to build their team. And the fact that they didn't really get year 1 to do that, they might get a buffer of 1 extra season. Like, this should be the season where they get fired if this is really how they are, but maybe Mark Davis says, fuck, 1 more year. And if it doesn't get like above 500 in 2024, they're gone no matter what. But I don't know. I'm not really seeing it. And I just feel like all these other teams are infusing their roster or their franchises with young gurus, whether it's on offense or defense, and it's successful. And the Raiders are doing this repetitive shit where it's like old school coach mixed with shitty defensive coordinator and horrible drafting. So Green Bay, New England at home, Chicago away, as well as Detroit away, week 8. And then we come back home for 2 games against the Giants and Jets. And then we have Miami away. And then week 12, we have Kansas City at home before the bye week. I mean, really, if the Raiders keep playing the way that they have, well, again, I don't want to spoil my Green Bay pick. But New England, they can win because New England is very hurt right now. Chicago, they should win. But if Fields starts warming up and getting hot, they'll lose that game at Chicago. At Detroit, no chance. We're losing. New York Giants at home, the way that they fucking played, we better win. But my God, if we lose, again, grounds for firing. New York Jets at home, their defense is super good. We'll probably lose somehow. Zach Wilson have the career game that he's always looked for. Miami, we're fucked. And then Kansas City week 12, stick a fork in me. Minnesota week 14, could go either way. Chargers at home, Thursday Night Football. It's on prime time, so it'll be embarrassing. Kansas City, week 16 in Kansas City. Stick another fork in me. And then Indianapolis week 17 at Indy. By that point, with my luck, Richardson will be the MVP of the league, so stick a fork in me. And then week 18, Broncos at home. Win. But,
you got to take this week by week. It's really tough to predict that far ahead. But
100%.
I think we're ready to take some comments and then move on to our final topic of the day. I'm like, all right, let's get to some comments. All right. Let's see here. Chicano said, we can't have that mic. So this might have been almost an hour ago now, because we went on a ginormous tangent about the panicking. We can't have that, Mike. Let's go start a GoFundMe for my man Mike. I think this is referring to not being able to watch the Raider game because they aren't in network and like the paying $400.
Yeah, basically it's probably for NFL season ticket or whatever you call it. I'd love to have it. It's price
very
is
expensive,
over the top. It's specifically because you're only getting one day of the week to enjoy it. And it's like you have to, if it's really going to be worth it to you, you have to push away everybody else. Like I could not imagine being a father and paying $400 for that just to have my kids sitting there. Daddy, can I fucking do this? And it's like, I'd lose my mind.
Yeah. It would almost be cheaper and more bang for your buck to like go take a class at Chabot just to be a college student and get the discount to like get it for the season for $100.
Right. Yeah.
So Fonzie says Raiders aren't in our region anymore, and that's why we didn't get the game. The only pushback I give is we get most of the Raider games. There are some times where we don't, and I have a feeling it has to do with like, all right, they moved the Raiders out of that, out of our market, and they want us to fucking pay for Sunday ticket. You know what I mean? It's like
it could be that,
but
there's
diehard Raider fans in the Bay Area are going to have to.
Right. I think what it probably is, I know there's another comment after this actually about this, if you want to put that on. Cable companies complying to regional terms. I used to work for Dish, and we always had these issues. Like it's that, and I just figured there might also be like some sort of algorithm to like, we can only throw out 3 games a day on the what do you call that coverage? Local coverage, yeah. So like, okay, most of the time it's going to be 2 10 a.m. games and then 1 p.m. game. Now, if both of our teams were local, like before, and the Raiders and Niners were both playing at home, at 1 o'clock, we would get both of them. And we probably would only get 1 10 a.m. game. But usually what's going to happen is we're going to get 2 10 a.m. games and 1 p.m. game. And it might change, but again, I don't really know exactly how it works. I could be just talking out of my ass, but that's just how it seems to me. And you could be onto something like, the NFL wants us to suffer and have to pay for NFL Sunday ticket. But really, I want to say who's in charge of this is whichever coverage network is covering your team. So if your team is playing for CBS this week, it's up to CBS, right? And if your team is playing for Fox, it's up to Fox. And then the only other question is, do you get 2 10 a.m. games or 2 1 p.m. games or, what have you? So I don't know, but that's just how it seems to me is like, no matter what, we were only getting 1 o'clock game, and that was always going to be the Niners,
This is where it pisses me off. There should be no such thing as blackout restrictions. It is fucking garbage. You should be able to, like, if you pay for NFL Plus, you should be able to watch, in my opinion, they should open it up to everybody. I get that they have Sunday ticket, but like Sunday ticket should offer everything that NFL Plus offers. It should be combined. It shouldn't be separate.
Yeah. I mean, what Sunday ticket has is like the bracket. So you can watch like 4 or 8 games at once. That's awesome. And like that might be worth it, but it's probably not. It's probably overwhelming to me at least. But like, yeah, it's stupid that you can get blacked out of certain teams. And it's like, my whole point to it is just, if these networks want to make money, because it's always the goal, why wouldn't you have the formerly local team that gets the most views, other than the Niners, right? But for the AFC, for at least on CBS, the team that gets the most views in the Bay Area would obviously be the Raiders. So why wouldn't you want them on TV in the Bay Area? But again, I don't know how it works. So.
So Fonzie also says, I didn't watch the game, but damn, 6 sacks for Khalil Mack alone.
Yeah. I want to say he had a 5-sack game for the Raiders back in the day against the Eagles. But yeah, that was 6 sacks is 1 sack away from the NFL record, tying it in a single game.
So he had a fantastic day, but you know who didn't have a great day was the O-line. Why isn't the O-line protecting? No quarterback will produce with that kind of protection. I agree.
Yeah, and again, McDaniel's comment of, playing quarterback in the NFL is about not having turnovers. It's like, okay, but the offensive line playing in the NFL is about not allowing your quarterback to get pressured for every single fucking play that he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, Aiden O'Connell should have went straight to the podium and be like, being a head coach in the NFL is all about protecting your quarterback and having them prepared for the week.
Yeah,
just throw him on. He's not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just to answer this, though, Jermaine Illuminor had a horrible game. It sounds like.
Yeah.
And really, all the offensive line got in on it.
Mm-hmm.
They all gave up pressures and sacks.
Fonzie also says Sean Payton would have been good for you guys. I think Sean Payton would have been a better hire, or a more popular hire than I think Josh McDaniels was. But at the time, people were excited for McDaniels.
Yeah, Sean Payton was my dad's choice. But bear in mind, it wasn't just about hiring him; it was about trading for him. And
yeah, because he was still under contract with the Saints.
Yeah. Do you think, by any chance, Broncos fans regret that their team gave up, I want to say, a first-round pick for a coach that's so far gotten them to now 1-3? And
it's too early to come in.
It's too early, but it's like he was supposed to come in and fix this team, and it's like they look worse, way worse. So, anyways,
well, Russell Wilson looks better. Yeah, I think the trade they might regret is the Russell Wilson trade.
Maybe. I'm not a big Sean Payton fan. Like, I think he is a good coach, but I would have a hard time with it.
I don't like him either, but I think he is marginally better than Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he would fit the Raiders really well because, again, the whole Raiders versus the NFL thing, but anyways.
So Fonzie responding to the whole Dan Quinn notion. So Dan Quinn is defensive, though. What you guys needed is an offensive coach that knows how to work around a soft O-line. I would push back on the knowing how to work around a soft O-line. I want a coach that's going to build a badass offensive line. Honestly, any coach that comes into any team, that the first two things that they should, prioritize, I feel like, are the quarterback and the offensive line. From there, right after that, the next priority is the defense.
Yeah.
You can get average playmakers at receiver, and you can trade for guys, but you need to draft well, and you for sure need to have that, the quarterback that can run your offense, get the ball where it needs to be, isn't going to panic, and I don't know that the Raiders have any of that. That's what I'm saying. For something before. Let's see. I've always felt that if you're good on offense, you'll be a good defender because you know how the attack works. Yeah. You also elaborate further. Like when people say that Shanahan sat in defensive meetings to learn made him better. Saleh, Ryans had huge success because of Kyle, in my opinion. I think that definitely worked to their advantage because I think Kyle's a great play caller, and just seeing the looks that Kyle would give during training camp, absolutely prepared Saleh and Ryans to know what to look for, especially because half the league is hired by Shanahan's disciples. So, they can see, like, I mean, they're all running Shanahan's playbook, it seems like.
Right.
Let's see. I'm gonna skip a couple comments so we can keep it going, but Reed is old fashioned, but his quarterback breaks out of that box. I feel like Reed is creative though.
He's super creative. He's super adaptable. He's really adapted with the times,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I mean, he's just one of those coaches that it doesn't matter. He's one of the GOATs at this point.
Yeah. I would be shocked if it wasn't Andy Reid that like did the whole ring around the rosies thing. Like if the Chiefs players are doing that by themselves and Andy Reid is just like having a fucking heart attack on the sideline, like what the fuck are they doing? Like, I have to imagine like every single player I've heard loves playing for Andy Reid. So, I think, if you love to play for the guy, you'll go to battle for the guy, and his State Farm commercials are hilarious.
He is very good at those.
Junior Soriano 510. I believe this is my friend Flaviano. So Flav, thank you for checking out the stream. It says go Raiders. Yeah, Mike's on the whole burn it down right now. Burn it down mode. Jimmy G string is great when he has a solid offensive line. He sat behind Brady in New England. They always had a good O-line to protect the unathletic Brady. With protection, he's solid. I would agree he's solid. I don't think he's great. You know what I mean? Garoppolo, even when he has good protection, sometimes I notice that like he gets happy feet and then just like can't stay out of his own way. And like, I did it in the last episode. And then, the point. Oh man, it's over. It's over when that happens.
Well, what also has just been shocking to me, I mean, we just said about like Andy Reid being adaptable, like the hype with McDaniels and like all the coach speak that he's given to the press conferences is like, well, yeah, when we have good players like Davante Adams and Josh Jacobs, you're going to be adaptable and you're going to make sure that they have what they get what they can to succeed. It's like McDaniels has a very specific offense, but he claims to be like very adaptable and stuff. But I haven't seen it. And all I have seen this year with this quarterback group is funneling the targets to the two wide receivers. Obviously, Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers. Hunter Renfrow is not involved. The tight ends, not involved at all. And then even Josh Jacobs, it's like, I mean, that's what's been killing me, besides the turnovers on offense, is the fact that they cannot get the run game going, for the defending rushing champ. I don't understand what the problem is other than the offensive line being dog shit. Maybe the release of the pass play-by-play has been so fast that they've statistically made the offensive line look good up until this week. And probably, the Steelers week was probably when it really was going to shit. But just, the offensive line statistically was doing good through week 2. And then now it's starting to get worse. So I don't know. It seems to me like the offensive line is an issue for sure. And McDaniel's play calling and just not targeting guys other than 2 players on offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was something you said, but I was reading a couple of the comments here, and it was you said that they funnel it to their 2 receivers, and then obviously Josh Jacobs. Is that really such a terrible thing though? Like, I feel like the Niners do the exact same thing right now. They do it a different way because it's a lot more, like I mentioned, honestly, the theme of the show should just be creativity. Niners use a lot of creativity in their play calling, get guys in motion, and occasionally they'll give the ball to, somebody else, but like this past game, they beat the Cardinals mainly with Brandon Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey. Like those are just two guys, right? Otherwise, most games they don't utilize Kittle like they used to, but they've got the offense mainly running through two receivers in Debo and Ayuk, and then McCaffrey. So, yeah. We're going to get to a couple more comments, and then we're going to move on to our final topic. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and go with this comment. At this point in time, they need to protect their quarterback. Agreed. Joel says, "What's good?" Joel, thank you for checking us out. I remember, man, how many streams ago was it that you were on?
It was definitely before the season started.
Yeah, I think so.
Joel.
Yeah. Joel, I was at SoFi on Sunday. I'm so over McDaniels, this offensive genius, yet we can't even score 20 points.
Case in point. What the hell?
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm pretty sure he's like right. Because week 1, 17 points. Week 2, I don't even know if they got to 10. Week 3, they didn't get past 20 because they didn't beat the Steelers. They didn't get the final touchdown. And then this week, 17. So yeah, you're not going to win games like that, especially in this division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the offense is absolutely struggling. I don't know if it's time to go scorched earth yet, but we'll definitely find out this week. And that should segue us into our next topic. But one more comment. I drafted Renfrow in one of my leagues because Jimmy G is a check down first quarterback. I'm surprised they don't use him. Yeah, honestly, Renfrow should be getting way more touches than he does.
Well, that's my whole point with the whole funneling it to two receivers and Jacobs to a degree. It's like it just feels abnormal. Like I'm assuming this is a Garoppolo or this year's offense sort of thing. It's possible that it's simply that Devontae and Jacoby Myers are just that good and that open, but I feel like that can't possibly be it. Like I feel like for whatever reason, the tight ends are not getting targeted. For whatever reason, Renfrow is not getting targeted. It's like it just doesn't feel. Yeah, you know what? Actually, if we had more time, we could talk about Chandler Jones. That was a comment that was the first comment we brought up was about Chandler Jones.
Yeah,
and asking about the current state of the team, and releasing Chandler Jones is the Chandler Jones thing is a very sad situation. And in a previous stream, it was probably the week 1 stream. We talked about it, unless it was right before week 1. It was one of the two. But
I think it was after week 1.
Yeah, we didn't make a video solely about Chandler Jones. We just kind of left it on the stream, and if you find it, you find it. But I think my thoughts are in there. And again, I just
Mike turned out to be pretty spot on. It appears as though Chandler Jones is having some sort of mental health crisis right now, and we're not really going to get into it because we don't want to be I guess sort of gaining off of somebody's demise right now. It's a very unfortunate situation that he had to be released from the Raiders and seems to be not doing anything to help himself. But my prayers are for Chandler Jones, and I hope that he can get help or some sort of peace within himself. From my point of view, and I can be absolutely wrong, he doesn't seem to be there altogether. And everybody who knows him within the Raider organization seems to also feel that way because of the actions that they've taken. And I just think that there was a certain point where they just had to release him because, and I think that decision was pretty easy after he got arrested. So
Yeah, there's a conversation to be had about like his contract and stuff, but it's really not necessary. Um, I will say one thing specifically in regards to Mark Davis. Like, I mean, this whole situation was ongoing, and if you followed it, there was a lot of shit directed towards Josh McDaniels. And they have the press asked him questions, McDaniels, and he has to answer them. And it's like he just has to give the most head coach answer possible, which is like, oh, we're not going to get into that. Like, that's a personal matter. And it's like, that was always the truth. Like, I don't know, what do you want him to go and spill the beans about what's going on with Chandler Jones? Like, that's fucked up. But just with Mark Davis and the fact that the Raiders released Chandler Jones, like, I think some people might see what's going on with Chandler Jones and think, wow, how could you cut him? And I genuinely believe up until he got arrested, that the Raiders were doing everything in their power to try to help him. And, they wanted to keep him on the roster and everything. And they were hoping for him to get better and possibly be able to play as soon as this season. But with Mark Davis, he is a very strict anti-domestic abuse. I'll call it policy. Anytime any sort of Raider has been involved with any sort of domestic abuse, and that wasn't exactly the terms of this. It was a domestic dispute, what happened that led to the arrest. But I wonder if that played a huge role in this, because Fred Biletnikov's, I want to say, daughter was killed in a domestic abuse incident. And ever since then, Mark Davis has been felt very strong about that. So Point being, I think that might have played a minor role in it, but it just sucks. It sucks that this is going on. It sucks if you followed it at all. It's hard to watch. It is exceptionally hard to watch. And yeah, I just hope he gets better. And I hope that him getting released doesn't make things worse, I just hope that things get better at the end of the day for him.
Yeah. But speaking of things getting better, Mike, are things going to get better for the Raiders this week versus the Packers?
Nope.
No,
they're not. I wasn't trying to spoil my answer to this, an hour or so ago, but I think the Packers are going to be coming into this game with a lot of rest time, because they last played on Thursday night against Detroit in a game in which they really wanted to win. Their head coach was clearly emotional about it, because it was for the lead in their division, and they got absolutely trampled by the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to come out into this game pissed off, needing a win. And again, I mean, they haven't played since last Thursday. The odds don't feel like they're in the Raiders' favor, other than them being at home. But I think there's a good likelihood that Aaron Jones and Christian Watson won't be on a pitch count this time, because again, they've gotten a lot of rest. So the Packers will be at full power, and the Raiders, they'll probably have Jimmy G back, but I don't think that's enough. I think the Packers defense is pretty underrated, and if their offense is truly healthy, and if Jordan Love can have a bounce back game, which against this defense, hell yeah, he can, they'll beat us.
Well, I don't know. The Raiders, they were able to contain Justin Herbert a little bit, and it's so hard to keep containing. I mean, the Chargers are a good offense. Yeah, they were missing two of their playmakers on offense, but Justin Herbert is one of those quarterbacks. He will make the guys around him better. They were able. I mean, it's so hard to play defense when your offense can't stay on the field and they keep turning the ball over. But Herbert's better than Jordan Love. I think.
Yeah.
I think everybody would agree. So it'll be a great matchup, I think, for the Raiders to play against a team. I mean, Matt LaFleur was mad after that game on Thursday. Can I show the clip, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt LaFleur was so emotional after the loss to the Lions. I'm gonna share it with you guys because I just found it hilarious. Like, look at his face right now. look at his face, and he's about to get asked a question right now that he does not care for, and it's kind of a fair question, but like his response just cracks me up.
I mean, we suck, Pete. I mean, we got our ass kicked. If I knew, it wouldn't have happened.
Matt, they didn't blitz until the
That's a
last.
BS question, man.
We got our ass kicked, Pete.
So
If I knew, it wouldn't have happened.
For reference, what was the question? It was a little low for me.
Oh, it was the question was,
what could you have done to like prevent this from happening?
Here, I'll play it again. Let's see if I can put the volume a little. Hold on. What happens to cause a first half like that?
Mm-hmm.
We sucked ass, Pete.
Well, he said, if I would have known, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. But if I would have known, it wouldn't have happened. That's
Pete,
dude. Yeah, that's great, dude. It's just fucking hilarious. Like, I don't think that's a way to like represent yourself as a head coach, but it's just fucking funny. Like, this guy's really mad. Like,
the entire game,
he cares about his football. He cares about his football team. That's for sure.
The entire game, he was clearly pissed off, and I think he was pretty upset that they got beat so bad, because he came out at halftime and one of the reporters asked him, like, what do you guys need to do to get back in this game? He's like, I need this team to fight. I need to see them to show that they can fight. Like he was
like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah. So he was upset.
Yeah, he was absolutely upset, and he's gonna have a fire under his ass. Yeah, man. I also think that the Packers probably win this week.
Come on, Josh. You were doing all that talk about the Raiders having a good shot in this game. You don't want to pick them?
I don't think this will be the hardest opponent that the Raiders have faced so far.
No, I mean,
I think it's a winnable game. It is a winnable game. I will say that.
Yeah.
The Raiders defense, just honestly, like, Jordan Love is still an inexperienced quarterback. You guys get Jimmy Garoppolo back this week, theoretically. And, you just have to have a solid game plan. McDaniels has to be coaching for his career, or he's got to, keep the game close and then fucking blow it again so he can get Caleb Williams like he promised Mark Davis, like we said. Yeah, I got to pick the Packers. I think that Aaron Jones is going to be, one of those gadget sort of, running backs that he's almost like a mini Alvin Kamara, how he's able to get the ball, like, receive the, he's like a receiving back a little bit, and he's also able to rush. It's like sort of diet Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, he's just been shockingly, for lack of a better term, consistent for quite a bit of time here now.
Well, not last week.
No, but he was on a pitch count. It's just season by season. I mostly mean, not week by week, but year after year, he's still a great running back. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
believe it's a winnable game for the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders will get smoked. This is Monday Night Football, right, Mike?
Yeah, it's Monday Night Football. I mean, I really hope at the end of the day that it's a good game that I can, get invested in. Like, I mean, that second to third quarter, that Steelers game was hard to watch. But that fourth
Mhm.
quarter made it pretty fun. But I think I'm 1 week away from officially canning it and just rooting for the team to lose every week. Like, yes, there's a shot that we could win the next 3 games and find ourselves at 400 or something like that. But 500, sorry.
I was
But,
like, geez, how did you
yeah.
know that math
Yeah, no.
off the top of your head?
But even if they get to 500 by week 8 or whatever, it's like they have a couple of tough teams after that, and you still have another game with the Chargers, 2 games with the Chiefs. It's like Miami, and just the AFC overall. It's like there's no chance. I mean, the Ravens and Browns are making it. The Chiefs and maybe the Chargers are making it. Probably the Jags, but maybe the Texans. And then you have the Bills and Dolphins. So I think I just named 6 or 7 teams, and it's like, do you think the Raiders are going to make it, or do you think the Colts, Texans, Jags? There's no way. I'd rather earn a top 3 pick and see what happens.
Yeah, that's always what you would rather do, Mike. But I think Mark Davis, at the end of the day, would rather make money. And in order to make money, you have to be competitive. You got to win some games here and there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm picking the Packers.
As am I.
Real quick, I didn't get a chance to update. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and put green for me, but red for Michael. So let me go ahead and update here. Comma K4. Oh, no. Hold on. K6. There we go. Oh, and I don't have to update yours because I'm in the lead. But so versus Packers. I've got Packers. I just think that the Raiders offense is struggling. I have to see them figure it out before I can give them the benefit of the doubt that they will. And you also have the Packers?
Yes, I do. I think they're going to be at full strength.
No conditionals?
No.
Yeah. And then also this says out of 5, just for now, because like we've just made the prediction, so it's still yet to be determined. It'll be updated. So far, out of 10 matchups thus far, and obviously that number is a little inflated because we still have to see what happens this week. I have 7 correct predictions. I don't have
between
3.
both.
Oh, okay. The reason why it says incorrect is because these 2 are yet to be determined. I have 1 incorrect prediction. Mike has 2 incorrect predictions and 6 correct between both.
Yes, sir.
I need to work on making that spreadsheet a little bit more presentable. That was the first time that I thought, I figured I would put it together, share it on the screen. It'll get better. It'll get better for the presentations as we go along. I'm going to take some comments and, we're going to get out of here. Let's see. Joel agrees that the Raiders are not going to get it together, or not going to get better.
Yeah.
Lost to the Chargers B team. Yeah. Fonzie says YG 400 from a song, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's probably because I meant to say 500. I said 400.
Oh my God.
400.
400. Yeah, that's funny. All right. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Mike, do you have any lasting thoughts? Anything that you want to say before we get out of here?
No, just I think it's time to start putting Josh McDaniels on the hot seat. For the fans, he's been on the hot seat for a long time, but I came into the season feeling pretty confident that it wasn't gonna be a major thing. But it just point being, he keeps it up. at some point he has to he has to be on the hot seat. Can you find the video that oh, it was in our group chat that somebody put where it was it's fine. There was a Raider fan who was at the SoFi.
Oh yeah, I'll find it right now. I'll find it right now.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to spoil it. That shit was so funny. Fucking Hutch, dude. He said he was thinking about it.
Hold on. I will share it in just 1 second here. You're talking about this video, right?
Yes.
You still there, Mike?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just doing a Mark Davis impression.
Oh my god.
He had to sit there and act like he didn't hear him, just
Well, I guess that guy does make him money because he buys the merchandise and everything. I was about to say, yeah, Mark Davis doesn't get paid to listen to that guy, but I'm like, wait a second. He literally, his return on investment has everything to do with the fans consuming the product.
yeah. Hey man, I mean, you moved a team away from the Bay Area, and now the team that's still in the Bay Area is arguably the best team in football. Your team is dog shit. You keep this up for 3 more years, you're gonna be selling a lot less merchandise. It's gonna be a team in a new city with no identity. So something has to change.
Oh my god. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the stream. It was a great one, and we'll be back next week.